Hey everybody, welcome to PJ and the Beard. As are most of you, probably all of you, PJ and I are still social distancing. And during this time of social distancing, we started a series called 19 Conversations, or an hour of distraction, where we've been hanging out with a lot of people, a lot of guests, and talking. And one of those guests was David Barber. And while we were talking to David Barber, he brought up how he changes the bridges in his Telecasters, which got me thinking about bridges. In another conversation, people started talking about Telecaster pickups, got me thinking about pickups. And in another one of those conversations, we shared our first guitars. And this was my first electric guitar. It's a 1992 Mexican-made Fender Telecaster. And so we got thinking about changing the bridge and got thinking about changing the pickups. And now we're just gonna do a complete Tele makeover on this guitar. To start, I shared a picture of this bridge. Let me put it up here where you can see it. Shared a picture of that bridge online. I got a lot of snarky comments, a lot of people talking about how bad it was. And we had a lot of conversations about the pickups. So, we're going to start the Tele makeover by actually changing this bridge and changing these pickups. And so let me put this guitar down and I'll tell you what we're going to do. So, we got in touch with our friend Martin at Fender, who helped us out when we were doing the That Leslie Sound series with the Fender Pinwheel. And I asked him about the Twisted Tele pickups. And he was kind enough to send me a set of Twisted Tele pickups in the custom shop that we could put into this video. I don't know if that's coming in focus for you. And so that's the first thing we're going to do. But then, as we were talking to Martin, he said, since you're doing a makeover on the Tele anyway, and Fender just purchased Bigsby, he asked if I would be interested in adding this. And so this is the Bigsby B5 Fender Vibrato kit. So we're also going to add this. Now the rest of this video, at the time of shooting this, I really don't know what's going to happen. Because we are social distancing, we're going to get our friend Chris Dellaporta to help us put this stuff together. So we're going to piece together probably a bunch of videos shot at different times to make this episode. But join us, because I think it'll be interesting to see what happens to that black Mexican Tele when you put a new Bigsby on it and swap out the pickups, and who knows what else might happen to it.
What's happening, everybody? This is Chris again of Woodshed Guitar Works in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Coming back to you, touching base back again with this Telecaster project we got from Jason from PJ and the Beard, where we installed a Fender B5 Bigsby, and we also did a set of Fender Twisted Telecaster pickups, and I did a little rewiring with the control plate, flipped it around to bring the volume up forward. So here is the finished product. As you can see, the Bigsby's on there, the big old Fender F staring at you. Pretty simple install, a little bit of minor drilling. You know, I had to put the bridge in place, which, you know, had to make some room for that inside the body, not a big deal. Remove the original bridge plate, put the new one on there, put the pickups in, swap around this control plate. As you can see, we put the switch to the rear, the tone in the middle, and the volume up front. A lot of guys like that. I know if I'm reaching for a Telecaster, that's what I want to do, and that's what I did with mine. Pickups sound good. Bigsby does the Bigsby thing. Not too bad. Pretty nice setup overall. Not a bad way to take a pretty inexpensive Fender model from back in the early 90s. You know, breathe a little bit of new life into it without spending a whole ton of money. I'm not sure what all this retails for. I'm sure Jason will get into that with you and let y'all know. But this is pretty neat. I'm pretty satisfied with the way it came out. Like I said, it dropped in pretty fairly easy. I'm sure Jason will give you a full report when it's all said and done. As always, thank you guys for including me in the project. Really appreciate it. And we'll be talking to you soon. Happy Memorial Day. Wash your hands.
Alright, so today I got back the 92 Mexican Tele from Chris Dellaporta with the Bigsby installed and the Twisted Tele pickups put in. First of all, a big thanks to Chris Dellaporta at Woodshed Guitar Works in Carlisle, Pennsylvania for doing a great job setting up the guitar and putting it all together for me, for us. And so before I drop this off to Chris, I recorded 4 or 5 different riffs on this guitar when it was stock. So what I'm going to do now is go through and re-record those exact same riffs and then splice them all together back to back so you can hear it in its original form, and you can hear it the way it is now. I'll tell you a couple things about those riffs. They were recorded on a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe. The first couple were recorded clean, and the last couple were recorded with overdrive. I'm using a Barber Electronics gain changer for the overdrive. The first time you hear me run through with the drive on, it's on the low gain side, and then I flip it over and go through the same riff again on the high gain side. So you get to hear both, like with some heavier gain and with some lighter gain. It's kind of a light overdrive pedal to begin with, but you'll get the idea, right? So that's on the Barber Electronics gain changer, and that's an awesome pedal. Big shout out to Brian Landreth, who is a friend of ours through the channel, who really highly recommended putting in the Texas Tele or the Twisted Tele pickups. So that was really his recommendation. And yeah, so let's get into that, and we'll come back with some final thoughts and maybe some playing from Pat too after that.
right, here we have the 1992 Fender Mexican Tele, Fender Custom Shop Twisted Tele pickups, Fender branded Bigsby, through a PV Classic 30 with a TL Honker pedal and a Carl Martin red repeat. Now we'll just go through some clean tones. We'll start on the neck pickup here real quick with this clean sound, same Carl Martin red repeat.
All right, well, thanks for joining us for this video. It's been a little bit different. It's certainly different for us to put it together in this fashion. But you've seen the clips of the different pickups. So you saw the A and B version of the original stock pickups in the 92 Fender Telecaster. And you got to hear a little bit of what the Bigsby sounds like now that we have that added as well. And so what we thought we would do is just end the video by, you know, just some final thoughts, because Pat and I aren't together. So we haven't really had time to kind of distill and offer opinions to each other. So we're kind of coming into this blind. I don't really know what Pat's thinking. I don't know that he really knows what I'm thinking at this point.
Right.
Let's start. We did more on the pickups. Let's start with the pickups. What did you think?
Yeah, you know, they sounded really good, and we had a lot of people in our live streams kind of nudging us that way towards the Twisted Teles, and Fender was kind enough to get those for us, and we had them installed. I thought they were great. Like, I plugged them in. I didn't really dial up anything different on my amp that I probably had set for a different humbucker guitar, and I plugged in. They sounded really good. To me, the true test was sort of when you flipped it back to that bridge pickup, it was not abrasive at all. I generally rolled the tone back a little bit, but when I played that pickup, I thought there was a lot of clarity there. Tonally, it was very pleasing. The middle was like really balanced, and then the neck was really warm. I mean, they certainly did not disappoint for me the time that I spent with that guitar.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see what people think of the clips. So when I did the clips, I recorded all of the clips on the stock Telecaster with the original bridge, the original 92 Mexican made Telecaster pickups, whatever they are.
Right.
And then we had Chris set it up, plugged it, same amp, same settings, everything was exactly the same. Hadn't touched the amp. Played it again. Didn't try and dial it in for the pickups, like you said. Just plugged it in, and I was really impressed. Like I said, it will be interested to see if people can hear that difference on the recording. But I will say, in the room, under your fingers. So, like, this idea of what does it feel like, sound like under your fingers? I thought it. You're right. Clarity, maybe a little more top end, not as muddy. Just a really, really nice sounding pickup. You know, I'm really happy with it. I'm really, put it this way. Our original thought was to put a set of Lollers in here.
Right.
And Lawler makes some of the best pickups out there. And guys in the chat were going, yeah, they're really good. Try the Twisted Tele pickups. And so we went to Fender and said, hey, they had helped us out with the Leslie series. We were just like, hey, do you have these Twisted Tele pickups? Is there any chance of getting those? Fender said, sure. And then they said, well, what about the Bigsby? Do you want to try the Bigsby? So, and of course, I mean, what are you going to say? You know, like one of the things that we were looking about is changing that stock bridge. The stock bridge was not real good. And I mean, besides looking cool, I mean, like, yeah, let's try a Bigsby. I'm not a Bigsby player, never had a Bigsby. I don't think you have any guitars for the Bigsby. Maybe the closest would be your Duesenberg. Closest thing would be that tremolo bar on the Doozy, but
right.
So what'd you think of?
Yeah. I mean, certainly, you know, it's not a Floyd Rose, it's not a Kaler. It's not like you're going to be doing dive bombs and things like that. You know, you think more of the sort of the vibrato, the ringing of a chord kind of thing. So when I kind of ran it through some paces with one of the TL pedals, Honker overdrives, kind of driving it a little bit more, I just kind of like coaxed it a little bit and kind of like actually just kind of tapped it a few times and then kind of really grabbed it and held it at the end of things. And I thought it was really smooth, really responsive. It made that guitar feel more substantial. Like it felt like it resonated, like it was not a detraction by any means. I thought, you know, it held tune. But, you know, I think a lot of times the use of a Bigsby, in my opinion, is somewhat subtle anyway. But I thought it sounded really good.
Yeah, I'm really happy with it. It fits on here real nice. Little bit of work, you know, could I have done that myself? I think is a good question, you know, for somebody that's thinking about picking one of those up. There is some drilling involved. You got to make some holes. I think worth it to take it to somebody that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm happy that we had Chris set it up. The only thing that Chris said, and I don't know that it is a criticism or anything, but there's three screws in the back of the bridge plate that hold that plate on. And then the bridge actually sits on those screws. And he said it might be nice if Fender would include a flathead screw instead of kind of a rounded beveled screw because you could get the bridge close to the body. I do know that he put a little shim in the neck, like a paper thin shim in the neck just to raise the neck up a little bit. He said once he got it on, he couldn't get the action quite where he wanted. Putting that shim in took care of it. So, you know, the recommendation, if you have a good local guy that you trust and you're going to go that route, I don't think it would be a bad idea to take it to that local guy and have him do it. Other than that, you know, the arm is really nice. It's like you said, it's responsive. I'm really digging everything about it.
And it stays where you put it too. Like you can have it at different positions and it stays there. It doesn't kind of swing around and move. It stays. It's nice.
It's kind of yeah. So I mean, to take this old '92 Tele, put some really good pickups in it, and put a nice Bigsby on it, I think has changed this guitar. This is going to go from something I haven't played in years to probably something I'm going to have trouble putting down for a little while.
Yeah.
The only other thing that we did to it that's a little bit different is we did flip that bridge plate or the electronics plate, which was in the video and you've seen. So you have the switch in the back. So you have volume, tone, and then the switch now. And so one thing, I've done that on another Telecaster, the 50s Hot Rod Tele, and I love it. But I'm still trying to get used to it, you know, like because I was used to where the original switch was. On this with the Bigsby, and I'm just going to zoom in on that for 1 second. On this with the Bigsby, you see that Bigsby kind of gets in the way. If you have the bar back, it's not so bad, but there is more to reach around and grab around. Although I don't think it's going to be a problem in the long run. I think once you get used to the guitar and where the stuff is. So maybe one consideration if you're putting a Bigsby on, you might not want to flip that plate around because of that.
Right.
Although not annoying enough for me to think, now I need to put it back. Right. You know, I like the benefit of having the volume knob up closer to your finger.
Well, and it's your guitar, and I feel like the volume knob in that spot is probably used more regularly than you're flipping pickups that much potentially. So
Right. So overall, thanks a lot to Fender for sending that stuff out. I mean, it's cool.
Yep.
Would I recommend the pickups? Absolutely. In the short time that we've had them, haven't played it in a group situation yet, but in the short time in the room, when I picked the guitar up, I plugged it into like a Fender Deluxe Reverb that was at the shop, and the first chord I hit, I went, "Oh yeah, this is a massive change." And I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to hear a massive change, and I really was. So highly recommend the pickups, and the Bigsby is just cool. So yeah,
for sure.
So I think with that, right?
Yeah.
Please subscribe. Check us out on Instagram, on Facebook, PJ and the Beard on both of those. And other than that, I think that's it, right?
Yeah, like you said, a massive thank you to Fender and for Chris Dellaporta for helping make this all happen. And you've got an amazing guitar there, and maybe look forward to maybe doing this again in the future with my Mexican Tele. But until then, I'm PJ on behalf of the Beard, reminding you, no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear, especially this brand.